We're live.
Okay, all right. Welcome to the 1 p.m. Budget Special Projects meeting. Today is Wednesday, June 3rd, of course, year 2026. Item number 1, I call this meeting to order. 2, ordinance amending Title 43K of Tulsa Revised Ordinances, which is the City of Tulsa's expenditure policy for the 2017 Limited Purpose Economic Development Temporary Sales Tax, amending the projects and purposes for which expenditures of proceeds may lawfully be made, providing severability. This has the emergency clause.
Oh, I love that. Can you scroll down there? Sarah Davis, Council Administrator.
Christy Baskell, Director of Finance.
So this is on the Brown ordinance for the surplus $103 million in the Vision Fund. So last time we talked about a few modifications that you all would like to see. And there's a red line copy in front of you. One of those was on the municipal court lockup jail item. That one was to provide some more flexibility for possible uses, so you will see the additional flexibility in there to include demolition of the court facility, a new court facility, including relocation, cost, or rehab, depending on the final plan. The public facilities within inside the arena district, and also for use on a convention hotel. So still may all be used for a courts or jail facility, but this does provide flexibility on funding options. And then the other major change was down in Section E, and that's related to the Public Safety Center. So if the city does receive any sort of grant funding related to the Public Safety Center, then those funds would be reappropriated to a different use that's governed by the ordinance. So those are the high-level changes.
Councilor Banger.
Just a small question. Have we already fully submitted our grant application?
It's on track to get submitted, I think it's next week or the week after. So there's a lot of check the boxes on that application, but I know they were meeting weekly or every other week to get those done and through.
Sarah, do we know of is there a time, for the grant to be when we get notification if we were?
No, it's a rolling application, so you can apply it at any time, but I don't know that there's a decision time on that. And so that's why appropriating the full amount, the 25, lets you sign your construction contracts and get moving forward, because you know all of the funds are available now.
Exactly. Yeah, okay. Anybody else have any other questions? Anything else in there that you want to?
No, everything else, I think stayed the same from the original presentation that you received on this.
Okay. All right. Nobody has any questions?
Do you?
I already asked. Okay, all right. And moving on to item number 3, ordinance amending Title 45, Tulsa Revised Ordinances, Chapter 1, titled City of Tulsa Use of Tax Code, Section 119, ending and dedicating 15% of use tax revenue for debt services in support of the fund created by Title 43K, which is no longer needed for such purposes. This also carries an emergency clause.
So this is consistent with our discussions on the budget and with the Vision Fund. This will just take the language away that was added in 2016, since the money is no longer needed to help with the debt service, and it'll put it back into the general fund, which is where use tax typically goes. So it'll just restore this ordinance really to the way it was prior to 2016.
Anybody have any questions? Wow, everyone's all caught up to date and knowledgeable on all this. Great. Okay.
How's the commentary, the editorial?
Item number 4, I'm going to read 4, 5, and 6 together. 4, ordinance adopting the annual budget of the city of Tulsa for the fiscal year 2026-27, ordering the transfer of enterprise income of the general fund, appropriating unexpected balances for grant funds and capital project funds for fiscal year 2026-27, ordering and directing compensation and filing of levy requirements for the 26-27 sinking fund of the city of Tulsa, Oklahoma, revising fund balance 10% as an emergency operating in the general fund, approving an emergency telephone fee of 5%. For the calendar year 27, ordering the filing of the city of Tulsa budget fiscal year 26-27 with the state auditor and inspector of the state of Oklahoma, and ordering this ordinance to take effect immediately after its adoption and approval. 5, review and discussion of proposed technical changes and to the proposed city of Tulsa FY 26-27 budget capital plan. And 6, ordinance approving and adopting the capital improvement plan for the city of Tulsa for fiscal year 27 through 31 as part of the FY 26-27 annual budget. I got one.
If it's okay, I think we'd suggest starting with the technical change memo, and we'll
Absolutely.
go through that. Lori, would you pull the technical change memo? I'm sorry, I left that stuff down there. So I'm gonna go over the items in yellow on the technical change memo and some items that were previously raised but you may not see on here. And then Jared or Christie is gonna go everything in white, blue, and green are their items.
It's going to be a very colorful conversation.
Yes. So, just to start first with maybe what you don't see on here, but we've previously discussed, at council committee, and just recapping some of those items. So the small budget committee met, and went over some of these and is essentially making some recommendations, back, through the technical change memo. So, and just a reminder, the technical change memo reflects changes off of the proposed budget. So when you see some reductions, that's off of the proposed, or additions, that's off the proposed. So the first one, there were 2 mental health funding items that were brought forward and discussed. And so small budget committee on the first one was for COPE's 911 funding. So that's currently funded by Family and Children Services and embedded in our 911 system. The recommendation from small budget was to continue to monitor that funding. We know there's state uncertainty in various funding sources. And then also monitor that in FY 28 for if there's ability to scale up that service. But there would be no change on FY 27 recommendation. The other item was the forensic team, the FACT team. And that is a outreach team that includes a lot of disciplines for very seriously mental illness, and there's also a court involvement, justice involvement aspect to those teams. The small budget committee is gonna recommend funding that for 3 years, starting with about $400,000 in the first year out of opioid dollars, and there was a suggested schedule. You're not gonna see that on the technical change memo, 'cause it would come through a later budget amendment. There are some match requirements with that for additional dollars. And I think in the past, we've brought opioid amendments separately from the budget. So you remember 2 or 3 years ago, you funded the ART team out of that, and that came in a budget amendment post-budget adoption. So there's still some work to do there on that. And then I know there's counselors who have various levels of knowledge on these, and so I think, if you don't mind, I'll just go through them, and then if there's anybody else that wants to add additional comments about those, that would be helpful. So, the Financial Empowerment Center, was also an item of discussion. Also raised during budget discussions was the Utility Assistance Program. And so some counselors on small budget committee would like to suggest that the Office of Financial Empowerment take on developing a utility assistance program, with the emphasis that no additional administrative costs, not anticipating additional staffing cost, to develop that program. I know that they're gonna ask for, counselors to be involved in that. I know there's counselors that have already expressed interest in being involved. But we haven't started anything formal because we're waiting to come back to council committee for everyone to, hear that recommendation. Mayor's Office of Children, Youth, and Family, you'll not see on the technical change memo, it was just a discussion item as well. So there hasn't been any change recommended to that funding level yet, just, an emphasize on, you had just to summarize conversations, some counselors talked about the importance of staffing, an organization, or the entity to do the work correctly. Others talked about needing to really maximize outside dollars, and make sure that we're moving, focusing things in programmatic cost, when that's appropriate, and kind of watching our overhead on those programs. So you won't see a change on that one. Family Safety Center, you also will not see in there. We did look at the contract, does look like the building, maintenance obligations are on Family Safety Center. And did confirm currently in TPD's budget, there's $155,000, for that contract. So no action this year, but a continued monitoring there as well. And I did on the mental health, there also was a discussion of, continued state advocacy on mental health there. Counselors expressed concern about renovating the current jail while, plans were still to be settled on the direction of that facility. And so, we talked, and the plan is currently not to renovate that, facility. You're not gonna see any budgetary action. It'll just remain in that account, which I think was for, police divisions and an old capital package. And then finally, we go over to the memo. Christy and Jared will cover the demo cost. I know that was also raised by counselors. You're gonna see that in blue. So that's just why I'm not gonna talk about it. So moving over to the technical change memo, what you will see on the yellow items, so the first column is the general, or the first section is the general fund. Under emergency management, you had discussions, regarding just the scope and the division and the increased cost for emergency management. So the recommendation is no change in FY '27. There were 3 positions and some one-time capital cost. However, in FY '28, the small budget committee was recommending reducing, the additional dollars that were put in there, and instead requesting, that when the new director is hired, after a period of time of them being here, coming and providing a report on what is the scope of the office, what are the resources needed to properly carry out those functions, and the partnerships needed to do that. And then you as a council can make the decision in FY '28, how to fund that once you have a better understanding of the scope of the new office. So no changes though in FY '27. Next line in K, you had the Route 66 discussion with when Anna came, and Terry and Mark Hogan about the Route 66 assets. To seed a maintenance fund to take care of the things that you and the commission and so many people have spent time investing in. Seeding that with $100,000 this fiscal year and planned for next out of the general fund. That also would include the new welcome signs on either end. So we know we have the one at the village the other day as well.
The maintenance of those?
The maintenance of those as well could come out of that fund.
May I interject?
Yes.
We're just really trying, our hope is that we can test this so that we can begin to create other maintenance funds or a bigger maintenance fund to take care of the things that we build.
Mm-hmm.
We have to start somewhere.
Yep.
I mean, we've started in other places, but this is more direct and dedicated to a specific area and central economic development attraction, if you will.
And then maybe as we work on improve our Tulsa 4, we kind of bake it into any construction projects.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anything else on that one? Okay. Going down to number 5, under Parks, which holds the Tulsa Zoo contract. You had a presentation from the zoo a couple of weeks ago, regarding a shortfall for the African Wilds, exhibit. So they, small budget committee looked at fund balance, in IoT 1, and, the zoo was included in that capital package, and would like to suggest a $7.5 million contribution, subject to the zoo raising $2.5 million from other sources of funds, in order to unlock that 7.5, so that that project can go forward. Then next,
We're confident they can do it? You think they'll do it?
they are here to
Yeah.
express their confidence.
We're very hopeful.
Can you come to the table?
Absolutely.
That trick
Say,
chair.
you
Yeah,
wanna
be
stop
careful
there?
on Lindsay.
Is this the one that sinks?
Yeah.
Do the trick chair.
Or
Okay.
goes
Stay
back.
You did
Very
it.
carefully,
You
yes.
get 10 points.
We all know who you are, Lindsay, but please
Yep.
introduce yourself to our viewers at home and who are working at work, or who are watching at work.
Yeah,
Or
Lindsay
might be
Hutchison.
watching at work.
Yes, Lindsay Hutchison, President and CEO of the Tulsa Zoo. The zoo is, of course, very hopeful that we can match these dollars privately with another 2.5 to meet the match requirements, knowing that we will have to try to find another 5 in total for the project, plus the other 2 needed for interest. I did have a question, if there is a match, do pledges count towards that timeline and date? Because I don't know if we'll be able to get the 2.5 in
By October.
by October.
Oh, it'd be my opinion that,
Yes.
yes, but not a pledge from somebody who you just find out out on the street in front of City Hall says, yeah, sure, I'll give you $1 million.
Like from a foundation.
Yes. You better get down there now,
Okay,
because there's a
perfect.
lot of them walking by.
Okay,
Yeah.
it's Tulsa Tough this weekend, we can get our
Yeah.
cans out.
That's it. You get a koozie if you
Yeah,
pledge.
And get a poop bucket.
Yeah, anything.
But you need all 10 million by September.
October 1st, yeah.
October 1.
Okay, so I just wonder how the pledges would all pledges, matching pledges would need to be in by that time.
Well, we have a loan with BOK, and they will let us borrow up to 90% of our pledges. So it's really, it would be 2.8 that we really are having to look at for our BOK loan.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's good to know.
yeah.
Maybe we can check in with you like in September and see how it's going.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, hopefully this helps incentivize.
Yes, we're very hopeful, and again,
Yeah.
thank you for the consideration of the council to help us complete this really important project. We appreciate being heard.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, thank you for what you're doing at the zoo. Appreciate it.
All right.
Anything for pygmy hippos.
Also, your board
Yeah.
did a very good job reaching out, so
Okay,
give
good.
them gold stars.
I will for sure.
Yeah. Any chance we can get pandas here?
No, I mean, unless you guys want to pony up a lot more
There you
money.
go.
You'll have diplomacy with like China to do
Well,
that.
and it's like $1 million
It's like
per
really-
year, like per panda, I think is the last
Because
thing.
they have a very specific,
We have bears, we can just paint them whatever color we want.
trash pandas,
That
we
is-
have them running the
Little
streets.
Coloring.
There are red pandas at the
We do have red pandas.
We do have
Very
red
cute.
pandas.
Yeah, very popular.
Yep,
Yes.
they are.
They're cute.
Yep, yep.
Great.
All right, thank you.
All right, of course.
Appreciate you.
So on to the next item, which is 6, on the bottom of the first page. This is the 2016 vision sales tax, so this is in that 103 million. So this is the appropriation for that. So what you're, in FY '27, there was $6.5 million. What this change does is separates out that 500,000 is for shelter operations, for low barrier shelter, and that 6 million is for the other programs, so primarily Safe Move. In FY '28, the proposed budget included the remaining $17 million balance from the 23.5 in the Brown ordinance. What this change does is it, again, moves $1 million into specifically the shelter operations and it reduces the other appropriation by 10 million. So you would have 7 million total in FY '28 for potential homelessness programs. This was also in reaction to like spend rate of our current dollars. Obviously, in FY '28, when you go to look at that budget, you're gonna have a different perspective. You're gonna have a better idea of what your spend rate is in the community, and you can make changes at that time too. So this is just the plan for
Right.
FY '28.
And we have them coming on the 10th.
Yes, they are scheduled to come on the 10th, and maybe after we get through this, if there are specific questions, I know I was able to talk to one of you yesterday that you want answered in that related to financials. If you can go ahead and let us know what those are, so we can make sure that the presentation is responsive to that.
Awesome, thank you.
Who's coming, what is coming?
No, I think Emily and maybe Mark. The original item that was requested was about winter shelter, and I'm assuming that is about past spend and future plans.
Yes. Right.
Okay.
That's what it is.
And then I know at a committee meeting, Counselor Gilbert had asked for, hey, is there like a one-page handout that has how we've currently spent our dollars? Not just on the total number of dollars, but you know, what went to admin, what went to direct housing cost, staffing for outreach and things like that. So if there's additional things outside of those that you have, if you let me know, then I can make sure to communicate those over. Flipping to the next page at the top, I think this is the last one that I have. Councilor Paul Harper sponsored a Brown ordinance, which you all approved a couple of weeks ago. So what this does is it updates the item language, the appropriation language in the budget to reflect what that Brown ordinance language had. So before it just said Kirkpatrick Heights Greenwood Master
I can
Plan.
use ChatGPT to answer that.
No,
Oh.
Siri.
You put me out of a job.
I don't know why. Sorry.
I was so worried as my phone.
That's never happened,
Yeah, I thought
that's
it was
weird.
you picked up
That's-
phone.
that's 'cause
she
Yeah.
was
Is there any reason why,
listening.
my goodness.
Yeah,
We running
it's
low on
listening.
ink or something?
What do you mean? Is it small?
Oh, it's tiny.
Come on now, that's ridiculous.
Well, it's Jared's fault though.
Can you not, apply all and hit it up to at least a 12?
It looked bigger on the screen.
Yeah.
Sorry.
If you take your camera button
Oh, yeah, I
and
took
you
a
just
picture
go
of
like
it, too.
this.
I feel like ChatGPT is trying to help me do that.
Is this one of our budget cuts?
Yeah. You're doing significant.
Paper is more expensive.
Y'all trying to get it on one page?
Office supplies.
We will, Marissa writes things down for the next year. Marissa will note a 12-point minimum font on the technical change memo.
I'll bring an Arima paper. I'll bring Arima paper.
So that is it for the council related changes. And then so I think I'm gonna turn it over to our finance friends to go over the rest of the technical change memo. So flip back to page 1.
Sorry, I was sitting in the way of that.
Now we can zoom in on the screen. There you go.
Well, it has been.
So I can swoop through everything that is, I'm gonna speak on blue items, green items, and white items. And everything that's not colored or white on there is simply a reappropriation of FY '26 dollars. These were funds that were approved in this current budget for the uses that are listed on here. They're in the process of going through our purchasing process. They're not gonna make it before June 30 to get converted to encumbrances. And so this will just move them over to the next year so they can complete this purchasing process, get under contract, and have the dollars spent. It's really an administrative function because of the way that governments end everything at the end of a year and start over fresh July 1st. But happy to answer questions going down any of them. They're all primarily small assets, washer, dryer for the fire. There's some, the annual permitting and license software for development services, that every year it just came late this time.
Jared, can I ask a quick question?
Yes, ma'am.
Since you did mention it, the washer and dryer, is that for one station or for several stations? I mean, that seems like an expensive.
Where does it
I believe for
stand?
several,
Huh?
yeah. I believe for several, but I can
Okay.
confirm that for sure.
Okay,
20,000.
Maybe it's like an industrial.
They are
Not-
very
oh, they are
industrial,
big,
yeah.
I agree, but I
I
mean,
don't
it
think
just
they're
says
20,000.
appropriation for a commercial washer
Yeah.
and dryer, so I didn't know if that was,
Plural.
right, should it be plural?
Find out for sure.
Sorry to be
No,
picky, but I just want to make sure that we're spreading that washer and dryer out through to all stations,
Yeah.
or a good portion of the stations. Sorry,
no.
okay.
The blue items, however, are things that were modifications from what was presented to the council as part of the proposed budget. And I'll start at the top to go down through those. The first one, under General Fund A, Police. This will pair with item C below that in Communications. This is simply moving a website developer position out of the Police Department and into the Communications Department. It is budget neutral. The funds are just leaving one department, going to the next department. And it is related to a reassignment of duties that's gonna be more aligned with work that Communications is doing. But I believe they will still be focusing on public safety within the Communications Department.
It's just to have that alignment with the communications department.
All public safety.
Just this one position is moving.
Right. You said there'll be, the position or the duties will be aligned with public safety. It's coming from TPD?
Yes, ma'am.
So
I
will their
suspect
job,
that-
that job change be for public safety all around or just TPD?
I think they're just still going to be more primarily focused on police. We'll just have some more direction from the communications department.
The other public safety departments don't need that service?
I think that fire might have something as well. This.
They're already in communications?
No, this would be the only one in Communications.
Yeah, 'cause I was with the auditor this morning, and he had a communications person with him taking like pictures and video. Is that person in the communications department, or would they be in the?
Audit,
The
this
auditor's
is
office.
independent
That's just within
office.
the
Just like we have our own communications.
Oh, yeah, okay.
But everybody else is,
Within the,
yeah. Some departments do have someone that does their own social media and things like that, but I think this is to align it under the communications
Right.
director strategy rather than letting TPD kind of do their own thing,
Right.
which they've been doing, which isn't always helpful from a community perspective.
Just a cohesive message, sure.
That's why I asked. Is
Yeah.
anybody on other- are they be- will they be working on other?
The other
projects?
ones are already under the communications
Okay.
department. TPD was kind of on their own. This is
Very
just
helpful. Thank you.
There.
thank you.
I think parks and all that go, like, they have their own social media channels, but there's a
Yeah.
internal graphics and,
It's like brand alignment or something.
yeah, and just editing and things that happen before they go out publicly.
Moving on to 1B, the Animal Services. This is just increasing their funding for their chemical laboratory services as well as food for animals there. This was based on, if you kind of think about the budget being prepared is a little bit like a cruise ship. These numbers were put together in mid-March or so, before kind of late March going into the proposed phase. We had, after that point, looked at where their spend rate was this current year and reevaluated that they would probably need more money to be able to complete, or to fill out a full year next year. They both had the same considerations in proposed and this, that the shelter would be open 12 months, but this is gonna increase the funding to the level of spend that we're seeing right now, and then compounded by a larger shelter open for 12 months in the future. But it'll raise, we're increasing it 132,000 for the chemicals, which will raise their full budget to $515,000. And their food budget, we're increasing another 53, which will raise it to a total of $206,000 for FY '27. And then again in '28 in the plan, or '28 in the plan year. We spoke about communications. The Department of Resilience and Equity, item D, that is just removing the budget line for the Public Arts Master Plan. That will go back into looking into that and communicating with council and come back with a plan on that later. Item G, planning and neighborhoods. The first one is a vacancy reduction restoration. It's that neighborhood inspector 2. If you remember in the proposed budget, there were several positions that were budgetarily held because of vacancies being vacant for an extended period of time. There was a presentation on May 13th to the council on that. This position, we went back and talked with the director, and I think there was a timing on it being filled, and so we put the money back in place for this particular position. The demolition is for 2 locations, and this will cover the cost. I believe Brent had gone and gotten estimates from vendors. One site's $495,000, the other's $345,000, for a total of $840 here. It's a one-time budget line, and both sites and owners, we will still continue the process of pursuing liens and having them pay for the actual costs, but as a mitigation, these funds are being requested to be put in the budget just in case to handle the demolition.
Fingers crossed we
You
don't.
said just in case, we may not, what are we demolishing?
Houses?
It's
No.
being demolished.
I don't know if I can. Again, oh, the Oyo Hotel and the Star Studios.
Caught
On
fire.
Skelly Drive.
Yeah.
Ones that caught on fire recently.
Okay.
The one that just burned?
Yeah.
The
Mhm.
fires.
Hopefully, fingers crossed, we don't have to use that money.
Ideally,
So-
no.
Wasn't there an apartment complex that caught on fire?
Yeah,
though?
there were
Yeah, that's at
two.
81st and Sheridan.
Okay, but that's not, you said Oyo and what else?
Star Studio.
It's like Skelly Drive, right?
Yeah, so Oyo Hotel is there on Skelly Drive in Yale, and back behind there, they're 2 different parcels. Back
Mhm.
behind there is Studio Star, which
Yeah,
also caught
they're-
fire several months ago.
They've been a nuisance for a long time.
Mm.
But we don't own them.
No, that's why I'm
We're
saying.
just saying, we wanna go ahead and get them, but we'll
Right,
have to come back
so
and get that money
there's,
back. from
there's
them.
already been a process set up that they're going through that, the hearing for chronic nuisance.
Mhm.
So that's not until, I think, next week.
Okay.
So, there's also the possibility that it may be sold, the property, so it's being looked at, so.
Regardless,
lots of-
someone is going to have to demolish them.
Yeah, well, I mean, you drive down that 44, I just thought, man, I want to put a blanket over that thing because it looks so, but.
Just go ahead.
But,
Don't want, just do it.
Are they locally owned?
No.
right, and that's probably it. Yeah. Thank you, Jerry.
Very well. And again, please stop me with any questions if I'm moving along too quickly. The next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 items, I'm just gonna group together. It's the general fund public works for $55,000, public works in the public ways fund for just $1,200, public works in the streets and transit fund for a little over $10,000, then the water and sewer department in the water fund, for $239,000. And again, Public Works in the Stormwater Fund for $123,000. All these are related to the same thing. I believe a memo was prepared on May 21st for this. I'll be made here, but this is related to labor situation. It's gonna resolve position pay, grade differences between LT operators and the Water and Sewer Department and the Public Works Department. This was in collaboration with HR, management, the union. They were meeting regularly, and I believe they jointly came to this as an agreeable solution for all parties. And it is currently, it's been put forward as a solution. I don't think it's been finalized yet.
There'll be some
Correct.
job description changes
Yeah.
that have to go through the for mayor's approval.
But it will equalize the pay across across the position in both departments, and this is the net difference that it would cost for each of those departments within each of those funds to carry this out. And apologize, this just came to be shortly after the proposed, so otherwise we would have included it at that time. The last two items kind of make more sense if you start from the bottom, but these is just in the sewer operating fund and sewer capital fund, and it is related to changes in their capital projects timing. And there's two things happening. In FY '27, on line 12A, they are just swapping projects. They're gonna postpone a sewer rehab area-wide project, and in its place, do a area-wide manhole replacement project, budget neutral. And then in FY '28, again, 12A, they are, again, not doing the sewer rehab area-wide out of their enterprise capital or their cash fund. Instead, they're deferring it to debt. They're gonna do a sewer utility revenue bond for it. And so that means they don't need to transfer cash out of the operating fund to the sewer capital fund. So in 12B, you see we're reducing revenue by $2.5 million, which is the cost of that sewer rehab area-wide project. And 11A, that same revenue is not going out of the sewer operating fund now. And since they're pivoting to accomplishing the same project through debt service, we are increasing the amount that we anticipate paying in debt service that year, because we'll be doing an additional project of $2.5 million within that bond program in FY '28. So we're increasing debt service by a little over $68,000. All of that is wrapped up into a single decision. It just affects those different lines. The timing of a project and changing a cash-funded project to a debt-funded project. This was the recommendation of TMUA's board.
Does area-wide mean citywide, or does it mean something smaller than the city?
It means it's citywide.
Okay.
Makes sense
That is,
That's all you have?
all I got.
So I think if there are any questions or any additional comments counselors wanted to offer on the technical change, this would be a good time to do that. As you know, budget likes to have the technical change memo nicely wrapped up prior to budget adoption.
It helps us turn it around to get back to you
Yes.
orderly and quickly.
I just wanted to assure the counselors who aren't on small budget that those of us who are have had many extra meetings to comb through this and discuss, and that's how we ended up at the 7.5 with the zoo and some of these other things. But since you all aren't on those meetings, if you have questions, especially for those of you that are newer to the budget process, certainly ask them. I know there was some questions around the 10 million for housing or homelessness, right? So if you have questions, we can kind of talk through how we arrived at those things. And then back on number 1, I think Councilor Hall Harper was just coming in on the end of it. So I don't know if we can go back, but just the 103 million is not fully outlined in the ordinance. So I don't know if we want to just remind ourselves why that is.
On the Brown ordinance?
Yeah, just
Yes, we can go back. We're just, the items we're on right now
Yeah.
are 4, 5, and 6.
Yeah, and some of
But
that
yes,
is
we
in
can go
here.
back.
Like the 17 million for homelessness was originally proposed for fiscal year 28 plan.
You took 7 million out.
So
to put-
to date, we've had a $6 million investment
Right.
for Safe Move. And, you know, Sarah was talking about spend rate, and we've been talking about trying to get concrete numbers. When you make a plan to do something, you say, we think it's going to cost. And from Clutch, we've heard everything from 10 million to start, 20 million, and then 30 million. Now we're actually implementing something. and we're not even at the 6 million, you know, or we're not on pace necessarily to spend 6 million right now, cause the receipts haven't come in, although they've assured us that there's kind of a pent up collection of things that are gonna start rolling through. And so I think we wanted to take a more conservative approach and say, yes, we believe in the work, we've worked on it for a long time, trying to get the city to invest more, so we're gonna come in at that 6 to confirm to everyone, yes, we are in this, but it seemed a little, getting in over our skis to just jump in at 10 or 17. And once we put those dollars there, you know, it's harder to hold on to those purse strings from our
Right.
standpoint. But that doesn't mean we're not committed to doing the work, it's
Sure.
just, when you have a
Spread it
plan to
out.
do something, it's different than when you have concrete, this is what the plan is costing and this is how much we can do at this time. So I think I captured that well, but I didn't, I know some of you, you know, are very strong advocates for the work, and I didn't want you to just think we were diverting funds or something. Just more to hold on to them till we, you know, need to open
We
the
have a
next.
concrete plan.
Yeah, the
I think
next
that's a good
tranche.
idea.
Yeah.
Maintain our
So
leverage over
these,
those funds.
these bolded, oh, we're not back there yet, right?
We can go back, but,
Yeah, Counselor Bellis.
Oh, I can always wait if you wanna cover that.
well, that's item 1, we can go back.
Okay, no, I was just gonna mention, and I know Sarah kind of already like covered some of the mental health funding, and I know like that this was brought to small budget, that I'd been talking more with, from Healthy Minds presented the other day about funding, and I did wanna talk about like what's present, or like it sounds like it's being pursued this year versus just stuff that's on people's radars for future budget cycles or other budget amendments, was like, you know, we came to talk about the COPES funding and then establishing a FACT team. Which the FACT team, I know there's been identified, like grant funding that can be used for that to help launch that and bring in match dollars to get that going this year. And that then for, COPES, we'd have to really identify some other ongoing revenue for that, and so I know that like getting an amendment to like figure that out this year isn't in the cards, and there's also of course like state funding questions and so much else. And so I just wanted to like level set with everyone that we're, like after talking with Zach and with Sarah's help, and I know the small budget committee had been discussing this, that, like, you know, what I kind of relayed back with Healthy Minds and what we could do to keep supporting COPES, especially after having such a successful pilot year of integration, was like, okay, this now gives us a year of runway going into next year to see like what's needed, what comes forward, what Family and Children's Services kind of budget needs end up looking like, and just assuring them that, you know, we're regardless, you know, committed to that effort since it's just had such a successful pilot year, and that if we, you know, if the bottom falls out, like, and the city needs to identify, help to make sure COPES keeps happening, that like, you know, I'm sure a lot of us would be interested in pursuing doing that, though I know we can't like integrate it into like the general fund magically this year. But I appreciate that for everyone, I know it sounded like in the small budget committee, I know that those discussions have been ongoing, and I appreciate everyone's committed to mental health funding, and I'm glad that we figured out some creative way to get the FACT team going. And then as a clarifying thing, just for, cause this came up, like I learned that there's a FACT can stand for different types of the same sort of team, and just to clarify for folks, Family Children's Services has a flexible ACT team, and that this would be for, and on the record too, a forensic ACT team, and those are different. So that was good, cause I had someone be like, oh, you're supporting a FACT team, we already have those, but they're a different type of structure. So, and that the ones that we're looking at that doesn't exist, as Healthy Mind said, that doesn't exist would be forensic, it more has to do with people who also have like significant mental health needs paired with criminal justice involvement, and that like the flexible ACT teams are a different model than that. But yeah, anyway, thanks everybody, or just again wanted to put the COPES thing on the radar for future budget years, since I know I can understand why an amendment this year would be challenging.
Yeah, and it definitely puts all eyes on state funding for
Yes.
mental health
Yeah, we can
as
have-
well, that we all should follow to make sure that, that it keeps being funded and no more cuts to that.
That's one of the things we talked about with the governor's race and, you know, a change in leadership coming. We as a municipality cannot be expected to catch all of the shortcomings of state and
That's
federal
right.
funding, and we have to be very judicious.
Yeah.
But we also know that we believe heavily in what we're doing here, and so I think there would be an ongoing assessment, and we're not gonna let ourselves fail.
No.
But I do think for all of us, it is incumbent on us to continue to press upon our state and federal counterparts to see what we're doing here and demand that they do not undermine it, just by not getting the work done. And same thing on childcare and a lot of the other things that we are at the bottom catching all of our people and trying to hold them up.
Counselor Bingle? Did you have something you wanted to say? I thought you raised your hand earlier. Okay. Counselor Dutton?
I'm wondering, what responsibility also and participation the county is going to have with the mental health aspect, the county jail especially, because the people that become incarcerated are utilizing municipal services for mental health assessments and whatnot.
I think there used to be in their language that they were charged with taking care of like indigent people and things like that, and that
that
may
is-
have changed recently, the language.
Oh, is it?
Yeah,
thought it was
but they
still
also
in there.
have opioid
Abatement.
abatement, and I don't know if that qualifies for what we're doing with COPES, but I think Zach is pretty open to looking at any and all options.
Yeah.
So I think if we have a legislative roundtable
Yep.
planned, this definitely should be on there for us
Later,
to all.
yeah.
And here's the thing, I do think our Tulsa representatives and senators are lockstep with us. It's just how do we have that bigger conversation? And we may need to form a coalition maybe with Oklahoma City and, Oklahoma County. The more urbanized areas that are doing this kind of work, so that we can really form a coalition of influence.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
No, I can appreciate that. And I also was thinking about the animal services aspect of the county. Back on item B.
What about it?
Having the county pay per,
Yeah,
We're s-
what is their role going to be in helping us in the municipality?
yeah, we've tried that discussion and we will continue. Yep. So,
I appreciate it.
yep. Counselor Archie?
Yeah, I was just looking, just to piggyback on this mental health train of thought. This morning, we were with the auditor. He, the annual risk assessment for evaluate the 918, so they did the 918 evaluate. 2,500 folks responded, and he broke down the results per district, and he wants to do like a presentation with people individually. But I'll just share from my district, he surveyed 420 people from my district. Tons of information, but one of the things that they ranked were favorability and disfavorability ratings on access to services and amenities. In my district, access to mental health and substance abuse support has a net 30 negative rating, meaning folks in my district are overwhelmingly saying they feel like they don't have access to mental health and substance abuse support. Quality of mental health and substance abuse, support, negative. So, I mean, what I'm saying is, the people in my district, they want, things like the FACT team and access to mental health. I do think that, we have to work to get it done at the state level, at the city level, because part of quality of life is access to those resources. And so it was just interesting how we had the discussion today, and there's data that the auditor is collecting that's saying folks across the city, in fact, the net negative favorability rating for access to mental health is a negative 29%. And so people
The need
want
is
it.
there.
Well, the NCI supports all that too,
Mhm.
if you check out your neighborhoods and your.
Well, there's workforce type issues.
Right.
If I can just add to that, I know that there have been historical issues as like a workforce pipeline issue that maybe we could add to like that legislative mental health kind of discussion, which is that there's like licensing issues for mental health professionals who come into Oklahoma from another state. We don't have, I think, we can double check, but I don't think we don't have license reciprocity, or that's an issue that's been brought to me in the past. And I think that would need to be like a state policy change.
Mhm.
Yeah, okay, Mike's nodding his head like that's still a problem. Okay, yeah. But yeah, that is a challenge for people who move here from elsewhere. They're may have all the skills and certifications, but then they'd have to go through a whole thing to be able to practice here right away. And it could take a really long time, or they might not end up practicing. So that could go. We'll just make our legislative list. This is good.
Good.
Any other questions, concerns on those?
Do you want to go over just that there are two ordinances? Yeah, for the budget ordinance, just saying what they are.
We have the ordinance adopting the annual budget. It sets the emergency operating reserve at 10%, so that restores it to that full 10%. During the year, we received enough from FEMA to get that established back to the 10%, so that's where that is.
That's good.
That's wonderful. We should celebrate that.
Yes, we
moment,
should.
especially.
No doubt.
How long we've been waiting on that?
Everybody gets a Diet Coke.
Skinny pop.
I don't have the in my folder, the capital plan.
Yeah, that too.
It's the next one, item 5, or 5 or 6. 6 is simply just adopting the capital plan in your budget, the corresponding section. The budget book is chapter 6, and it is just the 5-year plan of anticipated capital spending and master plans. So that's both in the department highlights and the fund summaries. You can see the FY27, FY28 capital budgets. And this ordinance item is just the plan that the administration brings to the council every year for planning purposes of what the capital programs should be over the next 5 years.
If there are any questions, we could go back to Councilor Hall Harper's question. Any other budget questions?
Anybody have any other questions?
If you have changes, now would be the time to say them.
Yep.
For the budget.
Going?
Okay.
Going. All right. Now we can go over Counselor Hall Harper's.
So I think Councilor Hall Harper had a question on the Brown ordinance and just what are the bold items?
Yes.
That- So the bold items, these on page 2, if you look at that, so for example, starting with Gilcrease, those are already in the ordinance. What was added was "and operations" on Gilcrease. The bold are just project titles, and then if you look down at the bottom, so for example, Tulsa Performing Arts Center, that's the title, but some of the items have a further description that's not in bold. That's all that indicates. And then the substance of the changes are on page 3. And so the mayor came and presented a couple of weeks ago, the proposal. There are 2 primary changes. The first was the municipal court lockup facility. It was originally just listed as that. This expands that item to include demolition or a new facility or rehab, or public facilities located within an arena district or convention hotel. And so that entire $18.9 million could still all be used for courts and jail facility, but it also provides more flexibility if other funding sources are needed for different projects. And then,
Can I ask a question just on that point? So it is just in the arena district or muni court or lockup jail. Those are the only 3 things that can be used for or in, right?
say your question a different way.
I know. Well, it's that including but not limited to. So I guess it can happen in the arena district regardless of what it says underneath or after that, including but not limited to.
I want to say yes, if I'm understanding your question correctly.
I know, so
Yes.
long as it's in the
Jack
arena
also says
district.
yes, yes.
Yeah.
But I do think we put, that the jail or lockup and courts could happen outside the arena district. So if you used it to build a new
Oh, yeah.
court, that could go outside.
No, if it's muni court
Yeah.
at 41st and 129th East, then it can be there. But it can all be spent in the arena district for implosion of some other
Yes.
facility that we don't
And you
need.
just made up that location because Kevin's ears just perked up.
Oh, yeah, no, I totally did, because we talk about it often as a place needing improvement.
Okay, just didn't want to generate any sort of.
Oh, yeah, no, I totally made that up.
It's
not-
At
it's not a
101st and
newsflash.
Yale.
Yeah.
I'll pick on my own district.
Yeah.
Especially when there's a vacant area that you're
Yeah,
saying.
I was like, that poor Arby's right there.
Yeah.
Vacant lot.
It will be really astonishing if it goes there.
Skilling it,
They'll be
yeah.
like, I told you, you guys just didn't listen.
And then the other change, Counselor Harper, was under E, there's grant applications for the Public Safety Center in progress. And so we do not know if or when we will receive a grant, but if we do, that just says that it's not 25 million plus that grant. It's the grant funds, whatever gets offset by that will go back for further consideration of what you would like to use those funds for.
So the grant would supplant.
Yes.
Speaking of, oh, please go ahead.
What is this in the green funding? The senior fund, economic development incentives.
Those
And,
are,
is that 50,000? All them lines and stuff.
no, it's,
What is that supposed to be?
4,150,000. It's
Are
the,
you serious? That's the best y'all could do?
yeah,
That
this
looks like
is,
50
this is actually
$50,000.
Jack's fault.
What is it? What is the number?
4,150,000.
100? She coughed.
Sorry.
She coughed right when you was talking and I couldn't hear you. I mean, I'm like, everybody in my ear.
Everybody hush.
4 million.
Go, Christie.
It's fine. I just didn't hear nothing she said.
$4,150,000.
Okay.
Good thing I cover up on her, I'd be red like Christians.
She's talk. Everyone, boom.
Vanessa's gonna take all of us out today, I can tell.
It's funny.
Okay. Okay, now that's what the number is now. Can you finish the explanation, please?
That is just a line that has been that's been there since the beginning. It provides an offset to the general fund for some of the monies that would have been there if it had not been for incentives given. And those incentives could be the retail incentives that are given, or it could be the TIFs, the agreements that we've entered into that have that money flowing into those TIF projects. But it's not for any particular project. It just kind of helps offset that cost burden in the general fund.
Okay.
I have a question. Speaking of like.
Counselor Archie.
Thank you so much. Well, she said it, there's questions, it's time, right?
Right.
So-
For you to raise your hand
Thanks
so
so
I
much.
can.
I appreciate you.
Observe you, yeah.
The 800,000, speaking of what's happening in your district, the OYO, this demolition, the 800,000, if, let's just say, whoever owns it, they're like, oh, we'll demo it, whatever it is, can that money be used for the courts?
Not just automatically. We
Right.
could, once that is resolved, we could come back with some
A
sort of
budget
budget
amendment.
A budget
amendment,
amendment.
amend the budget,
Yeah.
but not without some type of change of
Yeah.
coming to this thing.
Okay, yeah, I just thought about if we're pursuing grants for some of this, and it would supplant what we'd have to spend, you know, demolition on one could be used for the other. But we'll just have to wait and see what happens, so.
Okay, anybody else want to raise their hand to ask a question? Counselor Hall Harper.
So just tell me what the subtotal is supposed to be.
The total at the bottom is $600,660,000.
600 million. Okay.
That's the sixes.
Yeah, and then strike-throughs and stuff, y'all.
There
That's
should
very
be a
hard to do.
I think the green and the blue is just a little
version
hard
in the
to see.
backup.
Yeah.
It is.
If it was like red,
Yeah.
Just put the full number in there instead of always strike
But
out.
the
The red line
economic
is
development
not red.
priorities looks like, it looked like a billion or a
Yeah.
trillion. I couldn't even,
The strikeouts is what's confusing.
yeah. Well, the green and the
Colors.
blue is a little hard to just.
it really did
Discern.
blend together.
Probably the original. The original.
Red is very
All right.
aggressive.
In there.
Any other questions? Speak now or forever hold your peace. Bringing concerns up on the
So
budget.
can we just explain one more time the 18 million plus 500,000?
For this economic
Yeah.
development priorities. So that is a bucket that is not being appropriated in this year's budget. It could be, yes, so it's in the Brown ordinance, but it's not being appropriated. And so I think moving further, council would need to develop a plan for how you want to utilize those funds. So this just makes those available for economic development priorities or community development projects. So you can determine to do those on large projects, or you can determine to do them on a multiple number of projects, but I think you would need to develop a further plan on how those would be utilized.
And does that need to be done before the budget?
No, it doesn't need to be done
Okay.
before the budget at all.
Perfect. Counselor Archie,
Yeah, so-
thank you for raising your hand.
Sure. I appreciate it. Yeah, so that was my question. Because there's been some conversation about how to use the money or divide the money up, et cetera.
Yeah.
But it doesn't have to be decided before we give a thumbs up or thumbs down to this budget.
No, you would, so the Brown ordinance, you need to decide that you're okay setting aside a bucket for $18.5 million for economic development priorities. And then there's nothing in the appropriations this year that you're appropriating that bucket to.
Good.
If something comes up later, mid-year, you decide you figured out the $18.5 million, there's nothing that says a budget amendment can't come after a project plan is adopted.
Okay.
There.
Did you do
So when you say,
No, I'm just kidding. Counselor Harper.
so when you say this year, are you talking about the current year we're in, or?
No,
No,
next,
next
this FY '27.
27,
Mhm.
okay.
Yeah. A new bus station. Just kidding. All right.
Okay, I'm gonna the finance team's gonna stay here, but I'm gonna go back to my seat.
Okay. Perfect. So we're gonna move on to other items. Item number 7, ordinance authorizing the mayor to transfer unexpected and unencumbered appropriations of $100,000 or less from one account to another within the same department of the city with certain expectations. This expires July 31st, 2027.
This is a budget ordinance that's brought every year. This is essentially to allow the department to conduct business a little more rapidly than 6 weeks' notice on smallish matters. It's fairly restrictive in that no more than $100,000 over the course of a year can be transferred. The money has to stay within the exact same fund, within the exact same department. It may only move between an account group, from like personal services to materials and supplies, or to other services, et cetera. But the money as a whole remains within the fund and the department as the council originally appropriated it. And this just permits the mayor to move it without prior council approval within those account groups.
And just to add that these requests typically come from the departments themselves, asking to make the change to accommodate something that they need.
Okay. Counselor Dictor Wright.
Thank you. Yeah, this is kind of just standard operating procedure that we, I think, do every year. Having been on the small budget committee now for some time, I would just like to see if we could add or strengthen some language about reporting. So I'm looking at Jack. I don't know if we need to add it in the ordinance. That the council will receive written and electronically distributed monthly reports on these transfers, and with as much detail as possible. We kind of have audited the reports that have come to the small budget committee, and there's just some missing information, or like month after month, no information, and so yes, we want to keep things efficient, but we just want to make sure there's not Swiss cheese happening.
Yep.
Because at the end of the day, like, our number one charge to be, aside from all of us keeping our citizens healthy and safe, is to manage the money. And so we really do need to see where things are going and why. So there's a couple that have happened in the recent past that I think, for my purposes, I would have preferred maybe came to our table and had a discussion before we just unilaterally, especially at reoccurring expense. So if it's a one-time thing, if it's a one-time expense, that's a different obligation that we have as fiduciaries than moving money to all of a sudden like hire somebody. And then you see in the budget proposal, a new position that comes along with that obligation. So, you know, we might have discussed it and everyone said, oh, that's fine, we all support this. But when you start seeing these obligations kind of trickle in before a formal proposal and discussion, that's kind of a flag for me. So, is that
that's an
something we
ongoing
need to add to
process.
the ordinance language, Jack?
That's where it is. It's up.
So is that something we can put in before we vote on it?
Yes.
Okay, I think Sarah, will you help with that? Thank you.
Yes, Council.
So around there, are you talking about just as it applies to this, or
Well, the other stuff
anytime there-
does come to us.
Anytime throughout the budgetary process, there's those transfers?
So throughout the year, these transfers happen.
Right, so you're.
I just wanna
you're
make sure that
saying
we're getting as a
not
full.
Not focused specifically just on the exercise of passing this budget, but you're talking about.
No, just
throughout the
mayoral
year.
transfers when
Okay.
they happen.
Yeah.
I
Throughout
think
the year.
Yeah,
I
so I
think
just
a
wanted to
monthly,
clarify that in my
yeah,
own
I
head.
think a monthly email in
Yeah.
writing to the full
Yeah.
council, cause even small budget, right? Then there's a delay and then that goes to the full council. It's just when, like on a monthly basis, just put it in an email. And that can help us
Yep.
also monitor one-time expenses versus reoccurring expenses that then get,
I just wanted to clarify.
Can we add it as an,
Yeah,
oh no, we're in discussion.
yeah, Counselor Lakin.
can we just add it as an attachment to that small budget report that we get monthly?
We can attach something.
Hmm?
We can attach something, but I think what.
She wants to codify it.
I think
Yeah.
you're saying that you were wanting it potentially more frequently or sooner than.
I think to the full group more frequently than it has been coming. It does come to us in the small budget, but it's
Some,
kinda here, there and everywhere right now,
yeah.
the way
Yeah,
we're
I'm-
getting
I'm
the
still asking
information.
for what you're asking,
What
I'm
you guys
just,
do.
I'm just asking that it be part of something that we're used to already getting, rather than something else, rather than
Yeah.
another email.
However we wanna do it, but I just think to the full council, which
Yeah.
I know that the small budget committee gets our information and then the same day or later that day, it goes to the full council, but.
Maybe we could include it in the weekly update.
Yeah, I think it just needs to have its own,
which I
Right.
haven't gotten.
like what we had to do as a staff member had to comb through and pull all that stuff together for a
Right.
report. That should not be something that our
Yeah.
staff is doing. So if we could just ask, I mean, the mayor's office knows when they're making these transfers, so they can just, one of their admins can put it on the list and then send it to us on a monthly basis. And that way, maybe we can have some earlier on discussions when we see something. But, I mean, I appreciate that our staff took the time, as we had questions, to go
Yeah.
find all the things and put them on a table for us, but that flagged for me that we should just have that monthly from the mayor's office, because I'm sure they already, there's some way that you already know what's coming through like that, when it's needed,
Yeah,
so.
Counselor Lakin, did you have more?
Just a question, so if a department head said, hey, I need to move $1 million from materials to personnel,
I'd say no, because it's $1 million.
999,000.
yeah, but the question is, could the mayor just do 99,000, 10 plus times?
No,
Okay, why?
because the ordinance reads 100,000 throughout the course of a year, so
Oh, throughout the course of the year
That's
for
just-
that account group?
just a single 100,000, and that's it, not multiple iterations of 100,000.
Okay,
For example, we had a department this week asking, and staff went back to look at prior MTs to see if we had done one for them in the
Okay.
past. But the one I was thinking of was actually last year, so they were fine.
But 100,000 could still create a position, which then becomes a recurring cost that we
oh,
have
yeah,
to, yeah.
no, I'm just trying to,
Versus a one-time,
Not a
Closing.
monthly,
we need
but an
a
email.
washing machine is very different than we are going to hire 2 new people. So, it's just a different way to present the information to us so that we can be thinking strategically about some of the
Yeah,
things that are happening. Yeah.
ongoing cost. All right, Counselor Lakin, are you done? Okay, Counselor Dutton?
Yeah, I think that's a great idea, and I think that will also help those of us that are new
Mm-hmm.
on council to better understand what we're actually talking about when it comes to the budgetary expenditures. I think it would really be helpful. It would have been helpful for me to have the information sooner rather than later.
Yeah, and just, budgets are a plan, and you can see, like, we already had all those technical changes where it was carry forwards because we couldn't get the things done. Or there's positions that we thought we would hire and we didn't, and so that, you can see where that, even within the rules, money can move, so it's just something we need to keep an eye on, I
Yep.
think.
Absolutely. Okay. Any other questions, concerns on this item? All right, moving forward,
Let the
item number.
record reflect Counselor Hall Harper is thanking me for another good idea today.
But You already reached your cap
But
of
constituents
one.
on my social media called me out for a mistake I made,
Yeah.
so we're 3 for 3 today.
Only one day, I don't
All right,
know.
item number 8, resolution as part of the FY 26-27 annual budget ratifying and affirming a certain capital improvement projects agreement dated April 1st, 2021 between the City of Tulsa and the Tulsa Public Facilities Authority, whereby the authority issued $4,315,000 in parking bonds to refund the Tulsa Parking Authority.
Is there any possibility that they could do 8 through 16 together, or?
Sure.
I will say that, and you can see on the front of each RFA, it says they're a packet 1 of 9, 2 of 9, 3 of 9. These are all ratifying project agreements with TPFA and TPA for debt that they had issued on
Do you want
our
me to
behalf.
read all those? The
Sorry.
TPFA? Which one? Do you want me to read those other items?
I was trying to save you the
Oh.
effort.
Yeah.
of
Okay,
having
that's
to
fine.
read
Okay.
through all of them.
Along with.
You are welcome to. but-
No,
Okay.
thank you.
It's a lot.
You could do
But
a-
they are all
Just in
essentially,
the Lakin version.
A Larkin.
Yeah, a Larkin thing.
Lakin.
they're all essentially the same purpose, just
Yeah.
for different debt activities that have occurred over the past years. And it's just the city's annual commitment that we will continue to pay down that debt service and carry out that project agreement for each of those 9.
Okay, so that takes us to
17.
17. That was quick. Sorry, I was gonna sneeze.
Great job.
It's good that you warned Vanessa.
Remember that on this one.
Item number 17, ordinance amending the fiscal year 25-26 budget to make supplemental appropriations of $9,415,000 recognized from the unappropriated fund balance within the general fund, $12,000 within the IMSA utility fund, $12,000 within the technology fee assessment fund, $27,000 within the public ways fund, $500,000 within the public safety sales tax fund, $775,000 within the stormwater enterprise fund, and $565,000 within the sewer operating fund.
This is what we have
The end. Just kidding.
Colloquially called the year-end budget action. We review all the accounts, all the departments, and look at what may need authorization for additional appropriations before the year's end, so that we can all remain in balance and in compliance with the Oklahoma Municipal Budget Act. And so these are the departments and the funds that we believe will need additional dollars to be able to complete the year and remain within budget. And can start at the top and work my way down. It's just a couple departments, and there is 2 or 3 common themes that touches all of them. For police and fire, you'll see, we'll start with I'll start on the ordinance, and maybe that'll make the most sense. So, look, the general fund, human resources department, $150,000 extra dollars to their personal services. Every one of the general fund departments, this is the additional dollars, the FY 26 increased compensation all non-sworn staff received was not budgeted in the original budget. And so the large portion of this, that 150 covers, as well as there was just some variances in vacancies throughout the course of the year that weren't budgeted completely precisely in the beginning, but this will cover those, and it's not a sizable percent of their overall budget. Legal department, it is the same story for the FY 26 raise, and it's a interesting case of the way that salary and benefit projections are done for departments when we look at prior year positions, what's filled, what's not filled, at what level, to predict what it's gonna look like in the future. And so comparing last year's base group to this year's base group, there were some higher graded positions that were vacant at the time that we developed the original budget that then later got filled. And so there wasn't enough money budgeted to cover that gap as anticipated in the beginning. All departments are budgeted with the assumption that vacant positions will probably remain unfilled for several months, but it's an estimate for how long they will remain unfilled. That is the primary explanation for legal department. Police department, 6.2 million is primarily the increased compensation as part of the negotiations that were resolved with the FOP. I believe Erica presented to the council on the 13th. Of that 6.2 in the general fund, about 3 million or so, across all funds was 3.7 million, was related to the FY26 raise that was negotiated. So that's over half of the 6.2. Another 2 million is roughly overtime due to various reasons, but a large degree, the vacancies that they continue to maintain. And then the last million or so, a little less than that, is due to separations not occurring at the high rate that we anticipated when we developed the FY26 budget. There was the state language, I believe, that the COLA adjustment for retirement at the end of this coming year. We were all under the impression that there would be more police officers that would seek retirement before this year was over. As it turns out, it was probably gonna happen next year before they retire. So we budgeted with an expectation that roughly there would be 4 separations a month for the year, and roughly maybe 1 a month has happened throughout the course of the year. So more positions stayed filled, incurring costs throughout the year than what we budgeted for, so that put them over a little bit as well. Fire department, it is roughly basically just the FY26 negotiated compensation that they received. There is, I know you see me come to the table every year talking about overtime, but they have performed very well with overtime. No additional funds are being sought for overtime for the fire department this year. It is simply the raise they received.
Yes.
They
Compliments to
have
the
worked
department, to
very
everybody.
diligently to do that.
Round of applause.
Animal services, there's 110,000 for personal services. That is, I'll plant the reminder that this is its first year to be a standalone department, so there's very little history to build a budget on for what they will typically assume. And plus, in all previous years, they've had the safety net of code enforcement and all the other areas of the Department of Planning and Neighborhood Planning to catch any budget excesses. But they did maintain vacancies, but Animal Services is very good at backfilling vacant positions through independent employment, temp staffing. And so the net effect of that was there wasn't actually a whole lot of vacancy savings created through that. In addition to, they did have a fair chunk of overtime. So this year it looks like they'll need about 110 to finish the year for their salaries. I'll mention that in FY27 budget, the council did approve an additional 130,000 for overtime this next year, so that should be less of an issue in addition to the new positions that they received. There was no overtime budgeted in this FY26 for them, because we had the expectation that vacancies would make up that difference. Other services and charges is simply a timing issue. They had a collision in FY25 when they were under a different department. It happened at the very end of the year, so the equipment management billing did not occur until this year, so it hit them, and so it wasn't previously considered in their original budget. So this is an additional cost that they were not expecting. So this will cover those repairs to their equipment and vehicles. And the last is materials and supplies, and that is, I alluded to that in the technical changes as to why we were increasing their FY '27 budget. This is just that their spend rate has been pretty hot for chemicals, lab services, and food, so this will help them finish the year and be able to purchase what they need to do their jobs. The next several going down, Mayor's Office of Economic Development, the Planning and Neighborhoods in the MC Utility Fund, Police Department in the Tech Fee Fund, Planning and Neighborhoods in the Public Ways Fund, Police Department in the Public Safety Tax Fund. These are all primarily related to the FY '26 raises non-sworn received that were not in the original budget. This will cover that offset that they didn't have sufficient funds to cover. Scrolling down to the Stormwater Enterprise Fund in the Public Works Department. This is, they're gonna need around $775,000 roughly to finish the year in their personnel accounts. This is related to allocation change to their staff that occurred after the budget adoption for this current year. They have staff that do stormwater-related services. We budget for them in the past in the general fund, and the stormwater fund reimburses at a rate of 95% for those services. Public Works reevaluated what they did, what that staff does, determined that they don't really perform any general fund services, said it's more appropriate for enterprise to pick up the full cost, so they started charging everything to the Stormwater Enterprise Fund. And so at that point, it was just a matter of the funding was in the wrong fund, and so this corrects that. And sewer operating fund for the water and sewer department is $465,000 for personnel and $100,000 for materials and supplies. The personal services is to some degree the FY '26 raises and overtime. They had we all had a very wet summer previously. It created more overflow issues than they typically see, so they just had to send additional staff out to remediate those throughout the course of the year, which resulted in additional overtime. And the materials and supplies is primarily related to chemicals purchases. They have an annual contract that we thought we'd been seeing at plateau, but we built in about, I think, 3 or 4% increase for this year. There's only one bidder on the contract, and they had a 12% increase. So without any other options, that's the price we have to pay. And so there wasn't quite enough funds budgeted for their chemicals for the water treatment, water sewer treatment. That will cover that cost. That will should land all departments in the black at the end of FY '26.
Can I ask a quick question?
Absolutely.
Going back to the public safety tax, so the police side of that, that's just taking care of the negotiated salaries within the officers within that fund, is that correct? Or?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes, ma'am.
okay. Thank you. Any other questions? All right, okay, one more.
One more.
Item number 18, ordinance amending the fiscal year 25-26 budget to transfer available appropriations of $180,408.53 between departments, projects, and account groups within the American Rescue Plan Act.
This, I'll stick to the slide. It kind of helps it be a little more clear. This is essentially going through projects that are completed and reallocating those dollars to where they're needed to complete other things. Within the finance department, those projects down below, Rudisill, Citizens Application, Urban Strategies, Tulsa Area United Way, and the Housing Choice Voucher, all reached the end of the terms, were completed or ended. And so there was about $80,000 left over, and so that was put to ARPA administration for the staff that continues to monitor, report, and do all the paperwork for the Fed, required by the feds to finish out the ARPA program. On the Department of Planning and Neighborhoods, again, that little bit of money was moved out of the golf course infrastructure. The rest came from those projects above in finance. They moved into Department of Planning and Neighborhoods. And it's going to be used for the pre-approved plan program. I believe it was a recommendation of the 3H task force previously, and so this will partially get them to having that funded. I believe they are in the process of gathering up the remaining funds that they need for that from other sources.
Any other questions, or any questions on that item, Counselor Dick, or Counselor Bella, sorry?
No worries, we share last names sometimes. Sorry, just in a legal document, too soon. Okay, is, just a clarifying question about the housing authority vouchers. Can someone explain that more to me? Like, I'm
Yeah.
5.
Oh, yeah, Travis, this is
Yeah.
great.
Like,
Travis
what hap-
is here to explain that, and the 3H task force, that was an original action step, but due to changing federal circumstances, that one changes, so
I see.
trying to
Yeah.
realign this,
Yeah.
but Travis can explain those.
Yeah, it's a little, housing choice voucher might be a little confusing. So if you recall back with the task force, we had talked about, we called it a housing priority program, where we were essentially working with the housing authority to get people placed into housing through a voucher type program. We're not paying for those vouchers. It was essentially paying for staff to administer that program. The short of that kind of history and story is that that fell apart. That didn't happen. That was a couple years ago. So that was what that $150,000 was going to go towards. And so since that's not happening, that money would be reallocated to the pre-approved plans program.
Okay. Thanks, that's helpful. Part of me knows, I know there's so much like rental assistance and so many other things I wish we could also do with them, but I
Just
know we also
remember-
wanna get those plans moving.
On ARPA
Yeah.
funds, the only things you can reallocate
Yeah.
those to are the things that were on
The
the
original
big
parameters.
ARPA list. And so, pre-approved plans, was on that list to do the process and the consulting. And what this will do is allow people to access those plans. I think it pays for a license essentially to
Right.
access those plans. If they're gonna commit to an affordability element of housing, at no cost. And so it allows further implementation of the pre-approved plans.
That makes sense. Thanks.
Counselor Hall Harper?
What is the item for Rudisill?
I think it was a generator at one point. Christy might know more. I know there was a change in like generator design at some point, but.
Yeah,
The new library?
yes.
Mhm.
It's just the residual amount that they didn't request, and so they didn't have an invoice for it. But they completed it, and that was what was left.
But this is related to the new construction?
Mhm.
Okay. Okay.
I think Rodrigo came to present on it
Yeah.
as like part of a community,
Who?
Rodrigo,
Okay.
like a couple years ago, as part of a community resilience, type match, and a generator was part of
Yeah.
that.
You good? Okay. Any other questions? All right, I am happy to read item 19. We are adjourned.